educating other children on healthy eating and how not to be fooled by deceptive marketing through my Facebook page called Coralganics, videos, blogs, and an online children's book. I am just one of the many children who are concerned about the food that we are eating. While my mom wrote this speech on my behalf, I believe wholeheartedly in what I'm saying here today.
It's good out there.
We thought that perhaps if this message came from a kid, more kids would listen, and maybe more parents would listen. We just need more people to listen. The American consumer needs to wake up and see what is really going on here. I am 10 years old and I was born in 2004. My mom will turn 40 this year and was born in 1975. The food that children are eating today has changed drastically since my mom was a child, and really, since all of you adults out there were children. A lot of people would even question whether or not most of what we're being fed nowadays should even be called food. At least 75% of processed foods today contains GMOs, and we are introducing GMOs to children before they're even born. My mom recently got back from her 24-week prenatal appointment and was told that at her next appointment, she would need to do a glucose tolerance test to check for gestational diabetes. This test is given to all pregnant mothers, regardless of their level of risk. Even if she was to opt for the dye-free version, she would still be given 50 grams of sugar in the form of genetically modified dextrose, natural flavoring, genetically modified citric acid, and the chemical preservative used in fireworks and paint thinner, sodium benzoate, to drink in one sitting. Not being given any other alternatives, she had to ask for one. She was told that her only other option was to self-test her levels with a finger stick 3 times per day for 1 week, which may or may not be covered by her insurance company. One might wonder why doctors require pregnant mothers to drink a genetically altered chemical concoction without a healthier, more natural option available, even if it is just a one-time occurrence. Regardless of this glucose test, unless pregnant women are extremely careful, their diet is already full of GMOs, like the diet of most Americans. A 2011 study published in reproductive toxicology showed that pesticides from GMOs can cross the placenta to the mother's unborn baby. After first being introduced to children in utero, the next onslaught comes potentially right after they are born. Within just hours of birth, most babies are injected with the hepatitis B vaccine, which, yes, surprise, surprise, also contains genetically modified ingredients. Because glyphosate has been detected in breast milk, it is important that mothers eat nutritiously and eat organically whenever possible. Unfortunately, non-GMO modified foods can still be sprayed with Roundup and other pesticides. For moms who can't breastfeed, they should be aware that most formulas are loaded with genetically modified ingredients. Right. The same is true for mainstream processed foods that are made just for babies and toddlers. This obviously doesn't improve as they enter the school system and become more and more exposed to the standard American diet. While more than 60 countries have restrictions or outright bans on GMOs, we can't even get them labeled here in the United States. Most Americans want to know what is in the food they are eating and feeding to their families and to their babies. But the biotech industry and the big corporations who profit greatly from cheap GMOs and pesticides do not want you to know. They do not want the public educated. They do not care that the American public, the American children, are the lab rats. in this science experiment of grand proportion. Food allergies, autism, autoimmune disease, childhood cancer, and diabetes and obesity are all on the rise, while no one supposedly knows why. They somehow rule out the drastic change to the food that we are eating. Heck, GMOs are even found in our water. The truth is, they care only about their profits. They lie and make excuses about why not to label GMOs by saying that those of us who are concerned about GMOs are anti-science and that labeling GMOs would be too costly. Instead of proving that GMOs were safe before introducing them to our food system, they were just added to our food system in alarming numbers. In fact, according to Monsanto's website, and I quote, "There are not currently any human clinical trials used to test the safety of genetically modified crops." Monsanto goes on to say that genetically modified crops are equal to their conventional counterparts and are not expected to pose any health risks. And that experts in the field of food safety believe that genetically modified crops are as safe as their conventional counterparts. And does not see it. This expert community does not see a need and thus does not recommend long-term tests in humans in order to establish food safety. So instead, without our consent, we are all, in essence, the guinea pigs in this long-term, massive human trial. While we can opt out as much as possible by choosing non-genetically modified foods, they would rather keep the American consumer in the dark by fighting with millions of dollars to prevent the labeling of their own products. Think about that. They don't want their own products labeled. Does this pass the logic test? If they believe that genetically modified crops, are so much better and more nutritious and better for the environment, then why are they fighting so strongly against labeling them? Roundup-ready crops like corn, soy, sugar beets, canola, and cotton were first introduced into our food system beginning in 1996. If you don't know what Roundup Ready means, it means that entire fields of crops can be sprayed with the herbicide Roundup, which is supposed to kill all the weeds, yet not harm the crop. To put in very simple terms, Roundup works by interrupting the shikimate pathway in plants, which causes the plants to die. Now, of course, Monsanto says that Roundup is not harmful to humans because they say humans don't have the shikimate pathway. However, the millions of good bacteria in our guts do have the shikimate pathway, which is essential not only for our digestion, but for our entire immune system.
Woo! Right!
Glyphosate can be found in 160 conventional crops, as well as in most animal products through the animal's feed. Even more disturbingly, glyphosate has been found in our drinking water, soil, urine, blood, and as I already mentioned, breast milk. This directly contradicts Monsanto's statement that glyphosate does not bioaccumulate in the body. In fact, in a study published in the journal Environmental and Analytical Toxicology, the presence of glyphosate in urine and its accumulation in animal tissues is alarming, even at low concentrations. Unknown impacts of glyphosate on human and animal health warrants further investigations. In a study published in the journal Biomedical Research International, Roundup was found in a 2014 experiment to be 125 times more toxic than its active ingredient glyphosate. If Roundup is 125 times more toxic than glyphosate, and glyphosate makes up half of the Roundup solution, what does the other half, the surfactant blend, consist of? Well, your guess is as good as mine. It's not listed nor published because by law, only the active ingredient must be identified on the pesticide product label. Of course, they don't want disclose or label of what these supposedly inert ingredients are, in the same way that they don't want to label their foods as genetically modified. The less we know, the better for their business. Remember, knowledge is power. Monsanto knows this too. may be attributed to huge economic interests, you think? Which have been found to falsify health risk assessments and delay health policy decisions. It was only recently that the World Health Organization's cancer arm, the International Agency for Research on Cancer, classified glyphosate as probably carcinogenic. Yes, glyphosate most likely causes cancer. And it's in the pantries and refrigerators and lunchboxes of most Americans. This is why we are all here. Sadly, the information we are talking about today is not being shared on the news, that most people rely on for important information. When Chipotle, yay Chipotle! Recently announced that they would be the first national chain to serve food with only non-GMO ingredients, what did the mainstream media do? Well, many of them, like Time, National Geographic, NPR, and the Washington Post, to name only a few, ran negative stories about Chipotle's decision, saying that it was based upon junk science. This is what we're up against. So please, help to educate others in any way you can. Shop smartly and know where your food comes from. Your health, your family's health, and our future depends on it. Thank you.
Yay!
Thank you, Coral. All right, give it up for Coral. Okay, so I just want to take a moment again to thank everyone for coming. I want to thank